So here we are. Jeremy Collins, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Cool to see you sitting in front of your latest installation. You were saying before your internet joked that you're at a ranch or a ranch house of some sort.
Yeah, it's semi-private, semi-public. It's a guest house, clubhouse at a horse ranch on a very active park and intersection, and I'm doing the inside and outside of the building.
Cool.
So good timing, and apparently the Wi-Fi is only okay.
Well, we'll do the best we can. Is that in Kansas City? Are you at home?
This is outside of Kansas City, yeah, in Shawnee Mission,
Cool.
Kansas.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so thank you for doing this. This is going to be super fun. I first met you, I was going through the lineage of how long you and I have known each other. And I first met you, I think, at the Wild and Scenic Film Festival in 2015. And, you know, you had been making the film Drawn and promoting the book. Maybe the book wasn't quite out yet, but the film definitely was.
Right.
And, you know, one of the things that you were doing at that time in support of both the book and the film, and, you know, you were doing it with Q, James Q. Martin, filmmaker from Flagstaff. And one of the things that you did that was just maybe one of the more exciting things I've ever seen is the live art panel. You know, we had that panel at the Nevada Theater, and to music and video in the background, and you did the live drawing, and then I think you actually auctioned that off when we were there at Wild and Scenic. But then through the course of the weekend, we had talks. We would go out for drinks at the cocktail bar there on the main drag. I mean, super fun entire weekend that we had there. So really one of the most, I mean, I'm sure you remember most of that weekend.
Of course I remember. It's the first time I met Sinjin. Everybody remembers that.
Yeah,
no,
I'm sure that's what they're all saying.
It was super special, and it was a time I was very excited about live performance and trying to mix multiple mediums at the same time, where we had live musicians, live art creation, projected film, and that started with The Wolf and the Medallion, which we did a short tour with that, which was so exciting, 7 musicians, and, you know, this full sensory experience. And then that kind of evolved into the Drawn story, which was a little more stripped down and allowed me to travel and perform either by myself or with a small ensemble.
Yeah. And wasn't that the same year that Craig Childs did? I think Craig Childs went right after you, which was completely overwhelming to see it back to back.
Oh yeah. Well, we've been fortunate to perform it together a few times, and then we did a really cool Bears Ears trip just before all the COVID closures. And then he performed at our wedding just a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Well, and then I think later that same year was when you did this drawing for us in support of our 2015 Most Endangered Rivers listing. It's a program that American Rivers does. And in 2015, we listed the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon because of a bunch of threats. And this was, you know, the first time you and I really worked together on a piece of art. What do you think of that?
Well, that was in opposition to the Escalade project, which I started calling the Escalame project, which I really hoped that would take off, but it never really gained the popularity I had hoped for. But that was a real honor. That was a cool project for us to use our skill set on. You doing the research and all the editing and proofing of what I was creating visually.
Yeah.
And that project has spun off into so many directions. And then of course they, you know, canceled the Escalame, but it sounds like there's a new threat that's going on at the confluence or nearby. Yeah,
so small distraction, but yes, there was a proposal for 3 different pumped hydro projects within the Little Colorado River, just upstream from the confluence itself. So this would be, you know, they would build a reservoir in the Little Colorado, they would pump water to the top of the rim, and when electricity is more expensive, they shoot the water back down into the river. There was 3 proposals total. 2 of those, the developer has already proactively withdrawn. So, and then there's one proposal remaining that is on a side canyon in the Little Colorado called Big Canyon. And instead of taking river water, that project would want to pump groundwater out, raise it to the top of the river, raise it to the rim, and then shoot it back down. We feel like there's not a lot of opportunity for those projects to move forwards. The developer already removed 2 permits from consideration, but it reinforces the idea that places like this, we always have to be vigilant in their protection. We always have to be on top of it. And so, we do, and with our coalition partners, the Grand Canyon Trust and Safe Confluence and other partners in Arizona and across the West, we're engaged in a lot of these issues.
Yeah,
but
you guys do amazing work.
Well, thank you. Well, and to that point, you do amazing work that benefits us as well. The reason why we're here today is because of this collaboration between Osprey Packs and Rumpl. And I have, fortunately, the Osprey pack. I'll back up a little.
I don't even have one of those yet.
You don't have one? Oh,
No.
well, that's not cool. So anyway,
Yeah,
Osprey did this limited edition pack, and your drawings came out really nicely on that. And then the other thing, and this is super cool, not that the packs, Osprey people, I'm sorry, I mean, they're both cool, but the Rumpl blanket, also what Jeremy probably doesn't have, but imagine this full-size, mostly recycled plastic water bottles. So it's what, 85%, I think, recycled bottles as part of this promotion that you're doing that also benefits $10,000 to American Rivers through this collaboration. So super cool. So how did that come about? How did they get you involved in this?
Well, I've done separate projects with Osprey and Rumpl in the past. I guess more namely Rumpl. I've done a lot of really exciting projects with them, and they reached out. Hey, we want to do a project with you because we're partnering with Osprey, and I love the guys over at Osprey, and was like, this just sounds fantastic. And to be honest, we went round and round on what we wanted to do because it was just open game. Like, what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. And when they said we want part of this to be a give back program, I honestly thought of you guys because we just hadn't worked together for a while, and was feeling guilty, and just looking at the platform of the products they were working on, I just had that vision of the 3 canyons, of taking my 3 canyons, my 3 of my favorite canyons, and pairing those drawings together to make one confluence of the 3 canyons. Yeah,
well, I'll pull the blanket back out again here in a second, but related to the 3 canyons print, I don't know if Jim's on, but I watched Jim Aikman's film Like a River again the other day. Well, actually, I watched it again this morning. It's interesting to hear how each one of those 3 canyons has impacted you personally. Can you elaborate a little bit? I mean, Zion definitely, because you named your son after Zion, so that's cool.
Right.
But what about all 3, combined? How do you think about those 3?
Well, as an athlete, as someone who's had a lifetime of climbing, climbers are drawn to places where the river has carved a playground for us.
Right.
And so if you look at a lot of the major climbing areas, you're going to find a waterway that has crafted that place for us to play in. So like it or not, if you're not a water person, you're going to interact with water if you're a climber. You think about urban crags outside of let's say Salt Lake City or Denver or Golden or Boulder, all along the Front Range. All those climbing areas are carved by rivers. And as I was thinking about some of my favorite climbing areas, it's like, oh, these are all made possible by the long-term project of a path of water. And these canyons specifically, of course, the Black and Zion are more exciting for me as a climber. But I visited the Grand Canyon for the first time when I was 18, 19 years old, and my eyes were bulging out of my head. And, I was trying to figure myself out as an artist. What do I care about? What am I excited about? What am I motivated to do? And it took a while to kind of get into that groove, as it should for any artist, really. I think we should all spend time when young artists trying to figure that out. And when I figured it out, simply canyons, were a big part of my work. And so this series of drawings are from kind of a long-term vision of mine of a collection of canyons.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's easy just to say I love them because I can climb in them, but I am very much drawn to the art of canyons. You know, what does it take to make a canyon? And that film that Jim Aikman made, Like a River, is basically me kind of exploring that idea. What am I doing like a river? What am I doing long term? And what am I making over my lifetime? What am I making? And what's my impact like a river?
Well, and I really like at the very end of the film, I like how you talk about, you know, the longevity piece, like that you are going to do this for a long time. Rivers have been doing this for a long time. And then you kind of end in this contemplation of, you know, what does that mean for me as an artist? Or I don't remember exactly how you said it, but the idea was, you know, that this is something that that you hope will go on for a long time. And of course, for us, preserving rivers, you know, we're doing this for our children and our grandchildren and societies, and honoring indigenous people who have lived on these lands for thousands of years, and wanting to bring all these places back, wanting to keep them as good as we can. And so, you know, that's a long vision for landscapes and for people like you who have an artistic talent too.
Right. It keeps showing up in my work. I mean, again, I go back to the fact that, like, my world is rock. Like, that's what I'm motivated to do, is to go out and climb and have these big experiences up high. But the rivers are a crucial part of that. They're the path in a lot of times.
For sure.
Like, they're what opened up a place. And you know, I feel my level of responsibility to be involved in protecting those places, and looking at people like you and others that are really dedicating their entire lives to protecting them. And I look at what I do and go, okay, this is what I'm motivated to do. This is my skill set. This is my talent. This is the basket I put my eggs in. How can I benefit what these people are doing? You know, people like you. And
well, I mean, I don't even know how to say thank you enough for your support of these kinds of things. And for that, you know, your emotion and your feeling that goes into giving back and giving of your talent and creating things like this that people can enjoy, but also remind them, you know, when you're sitting in a couple of months when people are getting these for Christmas presents and they're wrapping themselves up in them to watch Netflix in a cold night in front of the fireplace, they can look at this and go, gosh, I hope there are people out there trying to protect these three places that he connects with so well. And of course, out here in the West and nationwide, you know, we're doing everything we can. So
oh yeah,
it's pretty awesome. Or if you go for a hike and you have your Osprey pack, you
right.
can do this every day. So a number of years ago, you started Meridian Line. How's Meridian Line going? I mean, I'm sitting here in my Meridian Line stretchy jeans, so there's that.
Nice.
But I don't want to show that to the audience because that would be a bit scary. But
we don't need to see that.
Yeah, we can stay seated.
It's good. It was really difficult for all sizes of brand. And all the easiest answer is we've survived. We are on cruise control right now. You know, when every mom and pop outdoor shop and 140 REIs shut down for 6 months, it impacts everybody.
For sure.
And so we're still kind of in response and recover mode for sure, trying to figure out what to do to go forward. But the team's still there, and you know, we just had our weekly meeting today where we just kind of figured things out, and it seems like we're doing okay. We've got a really cool project that has been sitting all of COVID, and it's a boutique shop in Lyons, Colorado. If you're passing through there anytime soon, you should go check it out.
Mhm.
Our partners at Adventure Lodge opened up a little boutique motel, and we opened up a little store there
Yep.
in March of 2020. Well, that's when the whole world shut down. So it's just been sitting there literally till just a couple of weeks ago. So that's something we're pretty
Right.
excited about.
You're like the 11th person in my world who has started a new venture in March of 2020. I mean, this where I'm actually sitting here at Fort Lewis College, they started this innovation center 3 weeks before the shutdown began, and it sat here for a year, and nobody could even walk in this place.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, restaurants. I'm trying to think. There was something else that somebody started a new business, and it was like 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down. And you know, you have all that investment, you have all of that, you know, intention, and the hotel in Lyons was going for it, and then boom, it's completely on hold. And I remember, you know, a number of times it'd be like, well, this is going to last a couple of weeks. This is going to be an inconvenience for a couple. Even American Rivers. I mean, we were like, whoa, you know, DC office is closed. Let's see when we can get back at it in a month or two. And here we are. I mean, the DC office still isn't fully open. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I was sure it was not going to last more than 3 months. I think, I don't necessarily think of myself entirely as an optimist, but I have a healthy amount of optimism for sure. And I was like, there's no way this is going to last more than 3 months.
Right. Well, and I actually had a question related to COVID. I mean, what's next? So COVID has made travel tough. It's still kind of tough. But if you could go anywhere, or you had to, I mean, you just got married and went to Mexico to the lovely Amy Gilchrist, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But, you know, do you have a trip? Do you have something coming down the pipe if you were able to travel?
Well, we had in the spring had an exciting trip that we had hoped that would happen in Switzerland. A long-term vision for all the things that make me happy: travel, art, film, and we were going to take that first exploratory journey this summer, and just nothing has opened up to the point that we'd be able to do it. And I had a festival in Italy. Man, I almost shouldn't even talk about it, but they had pitched me cycling, Amy and I cycling the entire length of Italy, creating art along the way. And their vision was that we would arrive at this bike festival in northern Italy. I can't believe I'm telling this. I'm not even sure I'm supposed to. And we were supposed to arrive and tell the story of coming out of COVID and cycling the entire length of Italy and showing up at this festival. The idea was we would ride right in and go up on stage and give a story straight from the sketchbooks. And couldn't even contemplate booking flights. It's like, this dream experience.
Well, if it starts to come true and you need somebody to pull a burley full of paintbrushes alongside you guys, you know, you have some options of who you can call.
Well, I know you cycle because I've seen your garage.
And you left it open for a few days.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, well, it was on the.
That's one of my favorite happy ending stories.
Yes, it was on the notes that I had to take a jab at leaving the garage open for a couple of days at least.
Yeah, for anybody watching, I'm happy to tell this story because it was a lesson learned. I was staying at Sinjin's house in Durango, and we were both headed to Telluride for the weekend, but I stayed an extra day, or I showed up there late or something.
You flew in late. Yeah.
Yeah, spent the night at your house, and then you were so kind to loan me your car to drive to the festival. And I wake up, I have a cup of coffee, I jump in your car, open the garage, and off to the festival. And then like 3 days later, you get a call from your neighbor. Did you mean to leave your garage open for 3 days?
Yeah. It was a look of terror. And I think,
my heart dropped.
I think the moment that I told you, we were standing in the brewery and Jimmy Chin walked up and I was like, so I need to talk to you about my garage for a second.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
great. Don't worry, you know, we still laugh about it. It's all good. No,
yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah, and there were a lot of bikes in there and none of them were gone when I got home. So it all panned out. Yeah.
I'd still be paying it off if so.
So I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've got another trip coming. You know, to wrap this up a little bit, there's a lot of challenges facing Rivers, right? And there's a lot, you know, public lands. You've been very active with Bears Ears. You've been pretty outspoken about Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. You probably said things about Bristol Bay, which are great because it's starting to look better again for the pebble mine. But what gives you, when you sit back and you look at the world, the natural world the way it is, what gives you hope that things are, that we can do this, that we can pull this off?
Whew, man, that's a really good question. And I would,
Or do
I
you
would
have
probably be, well, I would say, no, I do, but I would say if someone asked me this outside of this conversation, I would come to someone like you, like, hey, give me some hope. But I would say it's the hope that I have is based on bodies, and it's the amount of people that are engaged because of the accessibility of information. Um, you know, 20 years ago, I didn't know about all these issues. I was just a kid cruising around in my Volkswagen and climbing and surfing and playing around the desert Southwest. And,
right?
I wasn't taking Sierra magazine. I wasn't reading up on the issues. The reason that I know about these issues is because of social media. It is because of the platform that is most accessible to me at all times, and is that squeaky wheel that I constantly see as I log in, as I tap into this digital world. And so the hope that I feel is that those bodies are younger and younger, and as those younger people grow up in this digital age, they're going to be more informed, and the more informed they are, the more they're going to care.
Yeah.
And so using a platform like this, we're a couple old dudes, but think about people that are, just becoming teenagers that are my kids learning how to use this platform, learning how to use their phones, and, eventually they'll start caring and wondering about these natural places.
Right.
And so I guess that is just to say my hope is in the future,
Mm-hmm.
because there's energy in what we're doing now, and there's a lot of motivated people, but it's those people that aren't involved now that are learning, that are going to be way smarter than you and me, this next generation, and will utilize this far better than we ever did.
Yeah. So related to that, I mean, you just kind of spawned a thought. When COVID happened, we saw a dramatic increase in visitation, both to the national parks, which, all three of these rivers are within the National Park Service. So public lands, the national parks, a lot of things got just visitation went through the roof. And, as conservationists, none of us have wanted to bemoan that and say, well, this is bad, or man, these places are getting hammered. But at the same time, what would you say to the people who are new to the public lands and to get out of their house, to get out of Phoenix, to get out of Salt Lake? They were like, we got to go to these public lands, but don't really know how to take care of them. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think a common metaphor we use is these places are getting loved to death. And
Sure.
I think it's our job as people that have lived a life and are interested in protecting them to figure out how to love them to life. And that comes through education, how to love something to life instead of death. And I also think that we are fixated by lists, and having the national parks, we're fixated by those numbers. And I've been a lot of places in the lower 48 that are just as, or maybe even more beautiful and fantastic than our national parks.
Yeah.
To become a national park, there's all sorts of indications and rules and system. And is the government buying it from the state? Is it BLM land that is now graduated to a monument, that is now graduated to a national park? All these stages that have to happen to become a national park. And you think about those places like the New River Gorge.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a national park till what, 6 months ago, even if that.
Yeah.
And before that, it was just as beautiful and just as worth protecting and visiting. But now that it's national park, Fayetteville is going to get overrun with people. So the point I'm getting at is there are fabulous places to go that aren't national parks.
Sure.
And we get fixated on a system that is made it easy for us to go visit them. But the more you learn your way around the outdoors, let's say you're going camping for the first time. Well, that's kind of exciting and scary. Like, and expensive. I got to go buy this. And then You know, I remember the first time I went camping, I didn't have a sleeping pad, and everybody was just like, how are you not sleeping without a pad? I'm like, what's a pad?
Quintessential dirtbag.
Yeah, once you kind of graduate beyond that, start looking beyond the national parks, and you will see other places that are in progress, that are beautiful and austere and out there and wonderful, that also need protection and also need attention. And
For sure.
you know, that's the big challenge in these, you know, whatever it is, the top 4, the top 5 national parks, is how do we get people to come, love it, but not overwhelm the system that we have.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Abergram says use a pizza box. You can use a pizza box for your pad. That's a great idea.
Oh, that's excellent.
Well, and during COVID, you know, Reagan and I discovered our backyard mountains, right? We live no more than 5 miles away from the La Platas. And so we started exploring, you know, 12,300 foot La Plata peaks, you know, Centennial Peak and all of, don't leave the box, thanks. All of the, you know, there's what, 15 or so peaks in the La Platas alone. I've never stood on top of any of those.
Right.
And it's great to get those experiences just in our backyard. So
yeah, for me, I had a maybe 15 years ago, I had a rear derailleur brake on a mountain bike, and then I bent a rim, and then I popped a tire, and I just said, screw this sport. It's too finicky and everything breaks all the time, and I can't afford it. And so I quit. I had a stump jumper, and I just set it in the garage, and I never went back. COVID made me rethink that decision, and I've been riding ever since, because it was what was immediately accessible to me.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I felt comfortable riding in small groups. And, you know, so that's, you know, a lot of people purchase dogs. I purchased used bikes.
Right.
I made sure we had fresh used bikes in the garage, and it's opened a whole new community to me and a whole new activity.
Right.
That I wasn't anticipating. I love it.
And you know my slogan, that gnar ain't gonna shred itself. So you got to get out there.
That's true. That's true. Like, someone should put that on a shirt.
Well, we've had a bunch of your time. I'm gonna show again why we're here. The collaboration that you did with Osprey Packs, Jeremy Collins, American Rivers, and Rumpl, the big Rumpl blanket, 3 Canyons print. If you can find one, you should buy it ASAP, because there's not going to be very many of them.
True.
And this collaboration benefited American Rivers to the tune of $10,000, which is always welcome and certainly appreciated. It helps keep me doing my job. It helps keep you know, the rest of our staff doing what they do best and working every day to save and protect rivers across the country. So Jeremy, thank you so much for this. Thank you for your half hour of your time. I appreciate it. And I look forward to you leaving my garage door open again sometime really soon.
I don't plan to do that, but what I look forward to is our late night booty call whiskey video chats.
Yes.
Because it's very odd to be on the first time we've chatted all of COVID, to be live on Instagram instead of giving each other cheers through late night video chats.
Well, or sobbing into our whiskey, which we've also done.
That's true. We have also done that. Yeah.
It's gone both ways. I love you, brother. I'll see you soon. And thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate your time as well and interest. And super great to see everybody here. Really awesome. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for your support.